Travel insurance is one of those things that people often buy hoping they'll never actually need to use it. But when you're planning a trip, it can be surprisingly difficult to decide whether travel insurance is really worth the cost. And a lot of travelers only discover the answer after something unexpected affects their trip. Some travelers purchase it every time they travel and feel much more comfortable knowing they have coverage if something goes wrong. Other travelers skip it completely and never run into any issues. The reality is that the answer isn't always simple. Whether travel insurance is worth it really depends on the type of trip you're making, the financial risk involved, and what kinds of disruptions you're trying to protect yourself from. So in this video, we're gonna walk through several real travel scenarios that can change the answer to that question. We'll talk about situations where travel insurance might make sense, situations where it may not be necessary, and what travelers usually consider before deciding whether to purchase it. I'm Erin from InsuranceWise, and on this channel, we break down insurance topics in a way that is easier to understand so you know how coverage works before you ever need to rely on it. Why this question matters more this year. Travel has changed quite a bit over the past few years. Flights are often booked months in advance. Travelers may be reserving hotels, tours, cruises, or experiences long before their trip actually happens. In many cases, those reservations involve prepaid costs. And while some bookings offer flexible cancellation policies, others may be partially refundable or completely non-refundable depending on the provider. Because of that, many travelers start thinking about travel insurance when they realize how much money they've already committed to the trip. But the decision isn't just about the price of the trip. It's also about understanding the types of risks that could realistically affect your travel plans. Scenario number one, expensive international trips. One situation where travel insurance often becomes more relevant is when travelers are planning an expensive international trip. International travel can involve several different costs all added together. Flights may cost hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Hotels or vacation rentals may require deposits or full payment in advance. Travelers might also be booking tours, excursions, cruises, or transportation before the trip ends. When you add everything together, the total investment in the trip can become fairly significant. If something unexpected happens before departure, such as an illness, family emergency, or travel disruption, those prepaid expenses might not always be recoverable. That's one of the reasons some travelers decide to purchase travel insurance for larger trips. Scenario two, traveling abroad. Another situation where travel insurance can become more relevant is when someone is traveling outside their home country. Many people assume their regular health insurance automatically covers them internationally, but depending on the specific health plan, international coverage may be limited or unavailable. Healthcare systems and medical costs can vary widely depending on the country you're visiting. If a traveler needs medical attention while abroad, paying out of pocket for treatment could become expensive depending on the situation. Because of this, some travel insurance policies include emergency medical coverage designed specifically for travelers. Scenario number three, flights and travel disruptions. Another factor travelers consider is the possibility of travel disruptions. Air travel today involves many moving parts. Flights can be delayed due to weather, mechanical issues, airport congestion, or airline scheduling problems. Sometimes a delay might simply mean arriving at your destination a few hours later than planned. Other times, it could cause a missed connection or require an unexpected overnight stay. Travel insurance policies sometimes include benefits that apply to certain types of travel disruptions. Depending on the policy, these benefits may help cover expenses related to delays, missed connections, or unexpected interruptions. For travelers with tight travel schedules or complicated itineraries, this is another reason they sometimes look into travel insurance. Scenario number four, cruises and tour packages. Cruises and organized tour packages are another example where travelers often consider insurance. Many cruise reservations and guided tours require payment well before the departure date. In some cases, those payments may become non-refundable after a certain deadline. If a traveler needs to cancel their trip after that deadline, recovering those costs can be difficult. Because of that, some travelers purchase travel insurance when booking cruises or tours that involve significant upfront payments. In those situations, insurance is usually about protecting the cost of the trip rather than expecting something will go wrong. Scenario number five, medical emergencies while traveling. Another scenario where travel insurance may become especially important is when travelers consider the possibility of medical emergencies during a trip. Even though no one expects to get sick or injured while traveling, medical situations can happen unexpectedly. unexpectedly. For example, a traveler might develop a sudden illness, suffer an injury while exploring a destination, or require medical attention after an accident. When this happens in another country, accessing healthcare can sometimes be complicated. Medical facilities may require payment upfront, and the cost of treatment can vary widely depending on the country and the type of care required. In more serious situations, travelers may even need medical evacuation to a hospital that is better equipped to provide treatment. Medical evacuations can be extremely expensive depending on the distance and the circumstances. Because of this, some travelers purchase travel insurance specifically for the medical coverage included in certain policies. Scenario number 6, weather and natural disruptions. Weather is another factor that can affect travel plans in ways travelers don't always anticipate. Severe weather events such as hurricanes, snowstorms, or flooding can sometimes disrupt flights, cancel cruises, or cause unexpected travel delays. For example, travelers heading to coastal destinations during hurricane season may face the possibility of trip cancellations if storms impact the area. Winter travel can also be affected by snowstorms that disrupt flights and airport operations. In situations like these, travelers may find themselves needing to change flights, extend hotel stays, or make new travel arrangements. Depending on the policy, some travel insurance plans include coverage related to trip delays, interruptions, or cancellations caused by certain weather events. Because weather disruptions are largely unpredictable, some travelers consider insurance when planning trips during seasons where these events are more common. When travel insurance might not be necessary. Of course, travel insurance isn't always necessary. There are plenty of situations where travelers decide the extra coverage isn't worth the additional cost. For example, if someone is taking a short domestic trip and most reservations are flexible or refundable, the financial risk may be fairly small. If flights and accommodations can be canceled without penalty, the traveler may feel comfortable skipping insurance altogether. Another situation is when travelers are using points or miles for flights. If a ticket was purchased using rewards and can be easily changed or canceled, the financial exposure may be limited. That's why the decision often depends on evaluating the actual risks involved in a specific trip. What travelers should review before buying. For travelers who are considering insurance, there are a few details that are typically worth reviewing before purchasing a policy. One of the first things travelers look at is trip cancellation coverage, which may apply if they need to cancel their trip due to certain covered events. Another factor is medical coverage, particularly for travelers leaving their home country. Travelers also sometimes review baggage protection and travel delay coverage depending on the type of trip that they're taking. The real answer. So is travel insurance worth it? The honest answer is that it depends. For travelers who are investing a significant amount of money in a trip, traveling internationally, or booking non-refundable reservations, insurance may provide some financial protection against unexpected disruptions. For shorter trips with flexible reservations, some travelers may decide they don't need it. The key is understanding your specific situation and deciding whether the potential risks justify the cost of coverage. Travel insurance isn't something every traveler needs every time they travel, but for certain trips, it can offer an additional layer of protection that some travelers find valuable. How travelers decide if travel insurance is worth it. So one practical way travelers decide whether travel insurance is worth it is by thinking about the total financial risk of the trip. In other words, they ask a simple question. If something went wrong, how much money could I lose? For example, imagine someone planning a weekend trip where the flight costs a couple $100s and the hotel reservation can be canceled up to the day before arrival. In that situation, the financial risk may be fairly small and many travelers decide insurance isn't necessary. But the situation looks very different for a large international trip. If someone has already paid for flights, multiple hotels, excursions, and tours, and the total cost of the trip could easily reach several $1,000s, if an unexpected situation forces them to cancel, those costs may not always be refundable depending on the booking terms. If you do decide to explore travel insurance options for your trip, one thing many travelers do is compare several plans before choosing one. For example, on comparison pages like this, you'll typically see multiple travel insurance providers listed with different plan features and pricing. These comparison tools allow travelers to quickly review several options at once rather than visiting each provider individually. You may see providers such as Fay, Travel Guard, IMG, or others listed with different coverage options depending on the trip details. Comparing plans side by side can and help travelers understand what types of coverage are available and how policies differ from one provider to another. If you want to compare travel insurance plans for your own trip, you can use our travel insurance link in the description below to explore coverage options and see how different policies compare based on your destination, travel dates, and number of travelers. And if you want to learn more about how insurance works before you ever need it, make sure you're subscribed because we break down insurance topics like this regularly here on this channel. I'm Erin from Insurance Wise. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.